The Great Hall of the Galaxy Council was built to impress. Golden pillars rose high into the sky, glowing with soft lights. The floor was polished crystal, reflecting the proud faces of alien rulers who sat in their grand chairs. Hundreds of them, from every corner of the galaxy, had gathered to decide the future. They laughed, they argued, they spoke of power and pride. To them, this was just another meeting, another day where they decided the fate of weaker species. But today was different. At the center of the hall, a single human envoy stood. His clothes were black and plain. He carried no weapons, no crown, no guards. His face was calm, his eyes sharp. When he spoke, his voice was not loud, but it carried across the hall with strange weight. "Do not test Earth," he said. "We do not seek war. But if you spill human blood, you will regret it." The room fell silent for a heartbeat. Then came the laughter. The alien leaders roared with amusement. Some slammed their hands on their chairs. Others hissed in mockery. A few even pointed at the envoy as if he were a child telling fairy tales. "Humans. A young race," one alien sneered, his golden crown shaking as he laughed. "Too weak to matter," another said, flicking his jeweled hand in dismissal. Bold words from such fragile creatures, a third mocked, his long teeth glinting under the lights. The council leader, a tall figure with shining robes, rose from his throne. His voice was filled with arrogance. "You dare threaten the council, human? You stand here in our great hall, surrounded by the rulers of the galaxy, and speak of regret." The envoy's gaze did not move. His voice remained steady. "I do not threaten. I warn. If you value peace, do not spill human blood." The council leader's smile turned cold. He lifted his jeweled staff and gave a single order. "Execute him." Gasps filled the hall. Soldiers in silver armor rushed forward. The human envoy did not resist. He stood tall, his eyes fixed on the alien leaders. As the weapon was raised, he spoke his last words. "You believe we are weak. You believe this ends today. But hear me." The strike fell. The envoy's body collapsed to the floor. The galaxy's rulers leaned back in their seats, satisfied. Some clapped. Others smirked. The council leader raised his arms and declared, "This is the fate of those who dare threaten the council." The hall filled with cheers. The aliens thought the story had ended. But far beyond the shining chamber, on a small blue planet called Earth, the envoy's death was broadcast live. Every human colony, every station, every city saw what the council had done. Shock spread first. Then silence. And then, rage. In the dark halls of Earth's military command, generals gathered. Their faces were grim, their fists tight. One spoke, his voice like steel. "They killed our envoy. They humiliated us before the galaxy." Another slammed his hand on the table. "They believe we are weak. They have forgotten who we are." The Supreme Commander stood. His eyes burned with fury, but his words were sharp and calm. "Prepare the fleets. Send the signal to every colony. The Council believes this was the end. But for humanity, this is only the beginning." Back in the council chamber, the alien rulers celebrated. Wine was poured, music played, laughter filled the air. They believed they had crushed a threat before it could grow. But in the shadows of the hall, a few rulers whispered uneasily. "Did you see his eyes before he died?" One asked, his voice trembling. "Yes," another admitted. There was no fear. Only certainty. For the first time, a seed of doubt touched them. But it was too late. The council had spilled human blood. And somewhere, far away, humanity was already preparing its answer. The galaxy thought the warning had been ignored. But soon, it would learn the truth. Humans don't start wars. They finish them. Across Earth, silence followed the envoy's execution. Every screen went black after the broadcast ended. For a long moment, billions of humans stared in disbelief. And then the silence turned into rage. In the streets of Earth's cities, people gathered. They held each other tightly, whispering the envoy's last words. Some wept. Others clenched their fists, shouting curses at the council. The pain of his death was not just grief, it was a fire. That fire spread to the colonies. On Mars, soldiers lined up outside the great domes, demanding orders. On Titan, engineers swore they would turn their factories into weapon forges. On distant frontier outposts, farmers put down tools and picked up rifles. Everywhere, one truth was repeated again and again. They spilled human blood. And when those words were spoken, every heart answered. They will pay. In the underground command center of Earth, the highest leaders met. Generals, admirals, scientists, and strategists filled the room. A single banner hung behind them, black, with a silver star at the center. The Supreme Commander stood at the front. His face was calm, but his voice carried iron. The envoy gave them a warning. They laughed. They executed him before the eyes of the galaxy. He paused, looking at each officer in turn. Now, we will answer. The hall shook with determination. No one argued. No one hesitated. Humanity's course was set. Factories lit up across the world. The skies above Earth filled with the roar of engines. Warships that had rested in silent docks for years were awakened. Old weapons were pulled from hidden vaults. New weapons, darker and stronger than ever before, were brought to life. Every scientist, every engineer, every pilot, every soldier was called to serve. Earth's Extermination Protocol, the plan that had been whispered about but never used, was activated. And the galaxy that thought humans were weak would soon learn what that protocol meant. In orbit, the first of the great battleships powered up. The ESS Vengeance, a black giant forged for war, spread its wings across the stars. Its cannons glowed with power. Its engines roared like thunder. Fleet after fleet joined it. Frigates, destroyers, cruisers, carriers, ships built for defense now prepared for something greater. And when the armada was complete, it was not the fleet of a fragile race. It was the fleet of executioners. News spread across the galaxy. The council tried to calm their people. They called humans reckless, too small, too divided. They laughed on their broadcasts, mocking Earth as they had in the chamber. But reports began to arrive. Council scouts never returned. Border outposts went silent. Supply convoys vanished into the void. And then came the first horror. On the outer rim, an entire council fleet, 200 ships strong, was destroyed in less than an hour. Survivors who escaped spoke in trembling voices. They came from the shadows. Their weapons burned through us like paper. We never stood a chance. Fear began to spread among the stars. Ordinary citizens whispered in their homes. Was it true? Were the humans rising? The council tried to crush these rumors. They called them lies. They executed those who spread them. But the fear grew louder. Because deep down, everyone remembered the envoy's eyes. He had not looked weak. He had looked certain. On Earth, the Supreme Commander gave one final speech before the fleets departed. It was broadcast only to humans. They executed our envoy before the galaxy. They called us weak. They called us nothing. But today, we rise. Not as victims. Not as the hunted. But as the fire that will cleanse the stars. He raised his hand. Remember this, we did not start this war. But we will finish it. Billions of voices answered in unison. For Earth. The fleets launched. Thousands of ships tore through the void, engines blazing blue against the black. Their formation was vast, their discipline perfect. The council believed humans would beg for mercy. Instead, they were coming for war. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy trembled. The envoy's death was not the end. It was the spark. And now, the fire had begun. The council never believed humans would dare to attack. But the humans did not wait. They struck first. Far on the edge of council space, the world of Xander was quiet. Its cities glowed with silver towers. Its skies were calm, filled with trade ships and patrol fleets. To the council, it was untouchable, a fortress world, guarded by hundreds of warships and planetary cannons. But on this night, the stars above Xander shifted. Sensors screamed as shadows emerged from hyperspace. At first, the defenders thought it was a pirate raid. But then the shadows grew. One after another, black ships appeared. Hundreds. Thousands. The human fleet had arrived. In orbit, the alien commanders panicked. Raise the shields. Prepare the cannons. Call for reinforcements. Orders echoed across the fleets. Engines roared. Cannons charged. But fear already gripped them. The humans moved with silence and precision. They did not announce themselves. They did not give warnings. Their ships spread like blades through the void, surrounding the planet in minutes. At the center of the formation, the ESS Vengeance glowed with power. Its massive cannon hummed with energy, brighter and brighter, until it lit the night sky. And then, the order came. Fire. The first beam cut through the darkness. White-hot light ripped into the alien flagship, splitting it in half. The explosion lit the skies. Debris rained across the planet's orbit. The battle had begun. Alien fleets rushed forward, firing desperately. Plasma bolts filled space. Missiles streaked across the void. The defenders fought with everything they had. But the humans were faster. Stronger. Smarter. Human cruisers broke through their formations, tearing apart enemy ships with precise strikes. Fighters swarmed like a storm, cutting down patrol craft. Destroyers unleashed waves of missiles, turning enemy squadrons into fireballs. Within minutes, the Council's proud fleet was in flames. On the ground, panic spread. Civilians looked up at the burning sky as pieces of their own ships rained down. Towers shook as alarms screamed. The planetary cannons opened fire. Blinding beams shot upward, striking human ships. A few vessels fell, crashing into the seas. For a moment, the defenders cheered. But their hope died quickly. Human bombardments answered. Fire streaked down from orbit, smashing into the cannons. Explosions erupted across the surface. Entire defense lines were erased in seconds. The firestorm had reached Xander. In the command bunker of the planet, the alien governor screamed into the comms. Fight. Hold the lines. Reinforcements are coming. But deep down, he knew the truth. Reinforcements were too far away. The humans had chosen their target well. And they would not leave survivors. Human dropships pierced the skies. Black armor, glowing red visors, soldiers poured onto the surface. Their boots struck the ground with thunder. Their rifles burned with deadly light. The alien troops tried to resist. They fired from rooftops, from alleys, from trenches. But the humans moved like shadows. Precise. Ruthless. Unstoppable. Every street became a grave. In one district, an alien officer watched his soldiers fall one by one. His hands shook as he whispered, "They fight like machines. They fight like death itself." A blast tore through the wall beside him. The last thing he saw was the red glow of a human visor. Hours later, the battle was over. The once proud cities of Xander burned. Towers lay in ruins. The skies were dark with smoke. Alien bodies lined the streets. In the center square, the human flag was raised. The galaxy watched in horror as the broadcast spread. Everyone had expected humans to cry for peace. Instead, they were the storm. And their message was clear. This was only the first strike. In the war room aboard the ESS Vengeance, the Supreme Commander stood over the holomap. The planet Xander glowed red, marked as destroyed. He spoke quietly, his words heavy. "They thought we were weak. They thought the Envoy's death would break us. Instead, it has united us." He turned to his officers. "Send the signal. Target the next world. The extermination protocol has begun." Far across the stars, whispers spread. Some alien worlds cheered secretly, glad to see the council humbled. Others trembled in fear, realizing they might be next. But one truth reached them all. The humans had struck first. And they would not stop. The fall of Xander shook the galaxy. For centuries, the council had ruled without fear. No one dared to challenge them. But now, the unthinkable had happened. A single human fleet had shattered a fortress world, wiped out its armies, and left nothing but ash. And this was only the beginning. Across the stars, Earth's fleets moved like shadows. They did not wait. They did not negotiate. They did not warn. Every day, a new system fell. On one world, Council war factories exploded under precision strikes. On another, orbital stations burned as human missiles tore through them. Spaceports, supply depots, shipyards all reduced to ruins. The humans moved with terrifying speed. By the time news reached one planet, the next was already under attack. No one could stop them. In the command center of the ESS Vengeance, the Supreme Commander stood before a vast holomap of the galaxy. Systems glowed red one by one, spreading outward like fire across dry grass. "This is the Extermination Protocol," he told his officers. "Every council stronghold, every fleet yard, every command center. We will burn them all." The officers nodded, their faces grim. None questioned the orders. None doubted the purpose. The Envoy's execution had not broken humanity. It had forged them into something unstoppable. On the Council worlds, fear spread like poison. Families huddled in shelters, listening to distant bombardments. Soldiers whispered in panic, their eyes darting to the skies. Governors tried to reassure their people, but their voices shook. And above every city, the same nightmare repeated. Black human warships appearing from the void, their weapons lighting the skies, their soldiers descending like shadows. The Council, once feared across the galaxy, now looked powerless. In one desperate attempt, the Council assembled a fleet of 500 warships. They gathered in the Charon system, believing sheer numbers could finally stop the humans. The galaxy watched in suspense. But when the human fleet arrived, the battle lasted less than an hour. The Vengeance fired its superweapon, tearing through the center of the Council's armada. Human destroyers and cruisers swarmed the survivors, cutting them down with ruthless precision. When the smoke cleared, only wreckage remained. The message was undeniable: numbers did not matter. The humans would always win. Inside the Council chamber, the rulers shouted at each other in panic. "They are destroying everything," one leader cried. "They will not stop until we are all dead," screamed another. "We should never have killed their envoy," whispered a third, trembling. But it was too late for regret. The fire had already consumed half their empire. And it was spreading faster every day. On Earth, the people did not cheer in joy. They did not celebrate the victories. They watched in silence. For them, this was not conquest. It was justice. It was vengeance. The galaxy had mocked them, killed their envoy, and spilled their blood. Now the humans returned that pain 1,000 times over. Every victory was broadcast back home. Every burning city, every shattered fleet reminded humanity of the envoy's last words: "If you spill human blood, you will regret it." And the galaxy was learning that regret well. On the ground of one Council world, an alien soldier lay wounded, staring at the red sky above. Human dropships roared overhead, their shadows passing across the burning horizon. He whispered in disbelief, "They are not fighting for land. They are not fighting for power. They are fighting for something else, something we cannot stop." Then the shadow of a human soldier fell over him. The last thing he saw was the glow of a visor before everything went dark. Planet by planet, system by system, the extermination protocol continued. And for the first time in living memory, the galaxy feared not the Council, but Earth. In the war room of the Vengeance, the Supreme Commander stared at the map. More and more systems turned red. The galaxy was bleeding. But his eyes were not filled with triumph. They were cold, unshaken. "This is only phase 1, he said. "When the Council is broken, we will decide who lives, and who burns." The officers bowed their heads. None spoke. None dared. Because everyone knew this was not just war. It was judgment. The extermination protocol had begun. And nothing could stop it. The extermination protocol spread like fire. World after world burned, fleets fell, and cities crumbled. But the destruction was not the worst part. The worst part was the silence of humanity. They never spoke. They never threatened. They never negotiated. They only struck, and when they struck, nothing survived. In the great cities of alien empires, fear was everywhere. Children asked their parents, "Will the humans come here?" Parents had no answer. Their eyes filled with dread. Markets grew empty. Ships fled from the stars. Governors locked themselves in bunkers. The galaxy, once proud and full of noise, became quiet, waiting, listening for the sound of human engines. In the far reaches of space, smugglers and traders whispered stories. "I saw their ships," one said. "Black, like shadows. No banners. No mercy." Another shook his head. "I saw them take a fortress world in a single night. The defenders didn't even have time to send a distress call." And always, the whispers ended the same way. "If the humans come, nothing will save you." In the council chambers, chaos reigned. The leaders argued, their voices desperate. "Send more fleets," shouted one. "No, retreat to the core worlds," cried another. A third slammed his hand on the table. "You don't understand. The humans are not fighting like us. They are not fighting for land or power. They are fighting for revenge." The room went silent at those words. Because deep inside, they all knew it was true. Meanwhile, humanity's fleets kept moving. On the bridge of the ESS Vengeance, the Supreme Commander watched as another alien system turned red on the holomap. His officers reported calmly. Planet secured. Resistance crushed. No survivors. The commander gave only a single nod. His face was like stone. To him, this was not victory. It was justice. Across the galaxy, rulers outside the council began to worry. The neutral kingdoms whispered, "If humans destroy the council, will they stop there? Or will they come for us too?" The pirate clans argued, "Should we fight them? No. Should we ally with them? Impossible. Humans cannot be trusted." Even the ancient empires, who had slept for centuries, opened their eyes again. Old weapons stirred. Old armies prepared. Because one truth was clear. The humans were changing the balance of the galaxy forever. On one council world, a preacher stood in the ashes of a burned city. His voice shook as he spoke to the survivors. "This is punishment. This is judgment. We laughed at them, and now the stars themselves bring their wrath." The crowd listened in silence. No one argued. Because deep inside, they believed it. Back on Earth, humanity did not cheer. Cities remained calm. Factories worked day and night. Soldiers trained in silence. Families prayed for the ones fighting far away. The people knew this was not a war of pride. It was survival. The Envoy's blood had been spilled, and the galaxy had mocked them. Now Earth answered with fire. And everyone understood, once unleashed, humans would not stop. In the Council's hidden war bunker, a desperate idea was born. One leader whispered, "We cannot defeat them in battle. We must strike their home. Strike Earth itself." The room froze. The idea was madness. Dangerous. But as the humans kept burning worlds, desperation grew. And in that silence, the seeds of the Council's final gamble were planted. On the ESS Vengeance, the Supreme Commander stared at the map. His voice was low, calm, deadly. "They tremble. They hide. But they will not escape." The Council thought our Envoy's death ended the story. They were wrong. This is only the middle. The end will come when their empire is nothing but dust. The officers bowed their heads. Because they knew humanity would not rest until the Council was gone. And across the galaxy, every world trembled at the same thought. When will the humans come for us? The Galaxy Council was drowning in fear. Every day, reports came in, new fleets destroyed, new planets burning, more red marks spreading across the star maps. The humans had become a storm. And the Council, once the proud rulers of the galaxy, were powerless to stop it. Inside the hidden war chamber, the alien leaders argued louder than ever. "We cannot win," cried one. "Every fleet we send, they destroy." "Then we hide in the core worlds," shouted another. "Protect the throne systems." "Hide," a third spat. "Humans will not stop. If we wait, they will come here too." The room was chaos until the council leader raised his hand. Silence fell. His voice was low, cold, and desperate. "There is only one way to stop humanity. We must strike Earth itself." The chamber froze. Dozens of alien rulers looked at him in shock. "Impossible," one whispered. "Madness," another muttered. They would never allow us to reach their homeworld. But the council leaders' eyes were full of fire. If we destroy Earth, there will breaks. Their people fall into chaos. Without Earth, humanity dies. This is the only path left. Reluctantly, the others agreed. They had no choice. The extermination protocol was swallowing their empire. If they did nothing, they would all be gone. So, the desperate plan was set. A secret strike against Earth. In the dark shipyards of the Council, ancient weapons were brought out of storage. Massive dreadnoughts, thought too dangerous to use, were awakened. Their hulls glowed with forbidden energy. Engineers worked without sleep. Soldiers were forced into training camps. Spies were sent to track Earth's defenses. This was no ordinary mission. It was suicide. But to the Council, it was their last chance. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, civilians began to notice strange movements. Entire fleets vanishing. Supply lines redirected. A hidden army forming in silence. Whispers spread through the stars. The Council is planning something. They are building a weapon. They are going after Earth. And for the first time, even those who hated humans began to fear what was coming next. On Earth, life remained calm on the surface. Children played in parks. Families worked in fields. Cities hummed with energy. But deep underground, in hidden bunkers and military stations, humanity was watching. The Supreme Commander aboard the ESS Vengeance leaned over a holotable as new intelligence arrived. Council fleets are gathering in the outer sectors, an officer reported. They are pulling everything they can, said another. The commander's eyes narrowed. They are coming for Earth. The room fell silent. The officers exchanged grim looks. And then, the commander gave the order. Prepare the homeworld defenses. Let them come. Back in the Council war chamber, the leaders finalized their desperate plan. A massive fleet, armed with ancient superweapons, would launch directly toward Earth. They would burn the human homeworld before the humans could stop them. It was reckless. It was dangerous. It was desperate. But to them, it was the only hope left. The Council leader's voice echoed through the chamber. If humanity wants war, then let them taste the fire of their own home burning. Far away, hidden spies carried fragments of the plan back to human ears. Earth knew. Humanity was waiting. And when the Council's desperate strike began, it would not meet a weak, helpless planet. It would meet the wrath of a united Earth. The galaxy held its breath. The storm was moving toward Earth. And everyone knew this next battle would decide the future of the stars. The galaxy went silent when the Council's fleet moved. Thousands of ships left their docks, forming the largest armada in history. Ancient dreadnoughts led the charge, their hulls glowing with forbidden power. Their destination was clear. Earth. The Council had only one goal: burn humanity's homeworld. As the fleet tore through hyperspace, alien soldiers whispered among themselves. If we strike Earth, humanity will collapse. They cannot fight without their home. Destroy Earth, and the war ends. But deep inside, even they felt doubt. Humanity had destroyed every fleet before. What chance did they really have? Still, orders were orders. And this time, they were desperate enough to try. Meanwhile, on Earth, the skies were calm. Children played, families worked, cities glowed with life. But beneath that peace, the planet was ready. Hidden across the oceans, massive defense cannons slept beneath the waves. On the moon, fortified bases armed their railguns. In orbit, human battle stations aligned their weapons. And farther out, in the dark of space, Earth's fleets waited in silence. The Supreme Commander of the ESS Vengeance spoke quietly as the Council Armada approached. They believe we are unprepared. They believe Earth is weak. Tonight, they will learn the truth. The Council fleet arrived. Thousands of ships tore into orbit, filling the skies above Earth with fire and shadow. The ground shook as alarms echoed across the planet. From orbit, the Council leader broadcast his message to every human city. This war ends now. Your world will burn. Your people will kneel. For a moment, silence. Then the human response came, just 2 words: sent across every frequency. "We're ready." The battle began. Human warships surged from the darkness, engines blazing. The first volley of missiles cut through the void, striking the Council's front lines. Alien dreadnoughts returned fire, massive beams carving through space. The skies above Earth lit up with war. Fighters screamed between capital ships. Explosions tore across orbit. Planetary cannons rose from Earth's surface, firing lances of light that ripped through enemy cruisers. The moon's railguns struck like thunder, breaking dreadnought shields. The Council had expected a weak homeworld. Instead, they had flown into a fortress. On the bridge of the Vengeance, the commander gave his orders with calm precision. "Target their flagships. Break their line." The supercannon of the Vengeance charged with a roar, firing a beam of white fire that split through two alien dreadnoughts at once. The explosion shook the entire battlefield. Human destroyers swarmed, launching wave after wave of torpedoes. Fighters danced through enemy formations, tearing down cruisers like hunters cutting prey. The Council fleet began to falter. But desperation made them dangerous. A squadron of alien dreadnoughts broke through the human lines, heading straight for Earth. Their weapons glowed, ready to fire on the surface. Cities below watched in terror as the sky burned. But before the blasts could strike, a wall of human warships appeared, blocking the path. The ESS Resolute took the front. It fired every weapon it had, holding the line against the alien barrage. Its shields collapsed, its hull cracked, flames tore through its decks. But it did not fall. Behind it, planetary cannons opened fire, annihilating the dreadnoughts before they could touch Earth's surface. Cheers rose across the planet. Humanity was still unbroken. Hours passed. The battle raged. But slowly, piece by piece, the Council armada crumbled. Ships broke apart. Flagships burned. Dreadnoughts fell into Earth's oceans like meteors. And then, the moment came. On the bridge of the Council flagship, the alien leader screamed as his screens showed the truth: his armada was gone. His soldiers dead. His empire broken. The humans had defended Earth. And now, it was their turn to strike back. On the Vengeance, the Supreme Commander's voice was quiet, almost calm. "Earth stands. The Council is broken. Prepare the counterattack. We finish this tonight." His officers bowed their heads. Across the fleet, soldiers roared with one voice. "For Earth." And the galaxy shivered. Because humanity had not only survived the Council's desperate strike, they had turned it into the Council's greatest defeat. The Council's fleet was gone. The skies above Earth were filled with wreckage and fire. Alien dreadnoughts, once thought invincible, now burned as falling stars, crashing into oceans and mountains. Earth had stood strong. But humanity was not finished. The Supreme Commander of the ESS Vengeance stood tall on the command deck. His voice carried like iron. "The Council struck at our home. They failed. Now we strike at theirs. This war ends today." Every officer rose to attention. The Extermination Protocol had reached its final stage. The human fleets gathered. Hundreds of ships, black and silent, engines burning like red suns. From Earth, from colonies, from hidden bases across the stars, they came together for one purpose: judgment. The galaxy watched as the Armada set course for the Council's throne world. The message spread across every world. The humans are coming. In the Council's capital, panic reigned. Civilians fled into bunkers. Soldiers filled the skies with defenses. Ancient planetary shields hummed to life, glowing like walls of fire around the throne world. The Council leaders sat in silence. Their faces pale. Their voices shaking. One whispered, "Perhaps they will listen if we beg for peace." Another shook his head. "It is too late. We killed their envoy. We brought this upon ourselves." The Council leader gripped his throne. His hands trembled, but his words were sharp. "Then we fight to the end." The humans arrived. The Black Armada tore from hyperspace, surrounding the throne world like wolves around prey. The Council's defenses opened fire at once. Thousands of cannons roared, beams of light and storms of missiles filling the void. The skies became a storm of fire. But the humans did not flinch. They advanced through the flames, cutting down defenses one by one. The Vengeance fired its supercannon, breaking the first planetary shield with a single strike. The shockwave ripped through the heavens, shaking the entire planet. Human cruisers and destroyers poured in, carving apart the Council's fleets. Alien ships burned, their crews screaming into the void. It was not a battle. It was an execution. On the surface, the Council's capital city trembled as human drop pods rained from the sky. Black armored soldiers stormed the streets, their red visors glowing like demons in the smoke. Alien troops tried to resist. They fired from towers, from bunkers, from trenches. But the humans moved like shadows, precise and merciless. Every street turned into fire. Every fortress collapsed. The throne world was falling. Inside the Great Council Hall, the alien leaders sat frozen on their golden thrones. The walls shook with distant explosions. Dust rained from the ceiling. The doors burst open. Human soldiers marched inside. Their boots echoed on the marble floor. Their weapons glowed with fire. The council leader rose, his voice desperate. "Wait. We can make peace. We can." But his words were cut short by silence. The Supreme Commander of Earth himself entered the hall. His face was calm, his eyes cold. He looked at the alien rulers who had once mocked humanity, who had once laughed at their envoy. He spoke only one sentence. "You were warned." Moments later, the council hall burned. The galaxy's rulers were no more. From orbit, the human fleet unleashed the final wave. The throne world's cities crumbled. Towers shattered. Armies fell silent. And then, with a final blinding strike, the ESS Vengeance fired its supercannon into the heart of the planet. The surface split apart. Fire consumed the land. The throne world, once the jewel of the galaxy, was reduced to ash. Across the stars, the galaxy trembled. Some cheered in secret, glad the council's tyranny was over. Others wept, knowing a new power now ruled. And all whispered the same truth. Humanity does not start wars. Humanity finishes them. On the bridge of the Vengeance, the Supreme Commander stood in silence as the red glow of the destroyed planet faded from the screens. "Justice is done," he said at last. "But this is not conquest. This is warning. Let the galaxy remember, humanity seeks peace. But if you spill human blood, we will answer with fire." His words echoed into history. The war was over. The council was gone. And humanity stood unchallenged. The galaxy would never forget.